everybody. This is Myra from LunaWorks Odds and Ends. I'm here to continue to talk about couples' health. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the time that I was diagnosed with cancer. My first mammogram, they found a fibroid. And so at that time, once they found the fibroid, I had a needle biopsy. They found it to be benign. And it was one of those things you're going to keep an eye on it. Well, a couple of years later, I changed jobs, I changed hospitals, primary care, the whole deal, which they're much better, and I have them today. And so they continue to keep an eye on this fibroid for a few years. The third year that I had a mammogram with the new hospital, they actually found some sort of mass, and the reason and what I understand is how they found it. The technology changed during that time from not being able to see all the cells, really well, to being able to see it down to a little small piece of calcium that was in your breast. So I have this. I found out that they had this. I had this mass, and so they instantly had me do an ultrasound. They instantly had me do a needle biopsy. Now, the needle biopsy was the weirdest thing that I had ever encountered, and they literally laid me on a gurney with a hole in the gurney, and my breast dropped through the gurney, and the needle came from the side on the bottom with a camera into my breast. People don't believe that. Unless you've had one of those, you don't know what I'm talking about. But what I just said, hole in the gurney, you're laying on your stomach with your breast through the gurney, and the needle is underneath, and the camera underneath the gurney, and doing this business. So anyway, once that was done, I found out that I had a papilloma. And I'll put up a little information about what a papilloma is. It's a thing in your breast. And how they showed it to me during my x-ray was that calcium that had built up and was large was not a problem for them. It was the little teeny calcium pieces that were there. They were concerned. And that's how they found the papilloma there. So they told me I had a papilloma. This is when I first met my surgeon, and we'll just call her Dr. M. Met my surgeon because she had to remove the papilloma. Okay, so at the same time, I'm at a point where I'm having heavy menstrual periods. And so I go to my gynecologist and talk to her about that, and she suggests I have an ultrasound, and I had the ultrasound. And when I had the ultrasound, I went to see her. Okay, so now my GYN has found from the ultrasound that there is a polyp on my uterus. And so she wants to have the polyp removed. And she usually does it in her office. And so because I was heavyweight, she wanted to do it in the hospital. Okay, cool. So now I have scheduled around the same time both the papilloma removal within a week of each other, and the polyp removed. Um, Two different hospitals, two different doctors, and I actually had the polyp removed first. That was in a hospital my first time there, and I have to say, all of these surgeries I've had, prayer was a major part of it. I remember when the papilloma was not the papilloma. I'm sorry, the polyp was removed. I remember my sister asking the doctor, would she pray with us, and she did. And trust me, every doctor who has worked on me and have been asked, who we've asked, has done that. I have had a doctor who we didn't even ask. So, um, but but that has been a big part of, I think, my survival and how well I've done. So anyway, so we have both of these things removed. The polyp first, and then about a week later, it was the papilloma. And because they were close together when they were done, I'm getting the results from both at the same time. So the day I did make the appointment with one, I went on and made the appointment with the other one for the same day. It saves time, one day off. Just gonna find out what's going on there, what's going on to the other place. Hey, I get a day off. Okay. So the day that was going in to both of them, I'm going to call my gynecologist. So my first appointment, well, the first appointment for that day was going to be the breast results of the papilloma around 9:30 a.m. And then I was going to see my gynecologist, which is the next state over, at 2:30. Yvonne went to work. I didn't see a reason for her to come. Never thought about it, really. We were just, she's concerned, as we both were, but never thought anything major. I mean, that was my attitude. I just went to work, and as always, call me, let me know what happened, that kind of thing was going on. And so I get to the, my breast surgeon, and the resident took me in, as she usually does, or someone usually does, and had me take my clothes off, from the waist up, and did some minor, checks and asked a few questions, and then the doctor came in. It was this piece of paper on the counter that the resident brought in, and then Dr. B, we'll call her Dr. B, Dr. Breast.
Yeah.
Came in, and she grabbed the piece of paper and she says, well, I have some good news, that they did not find the papilloma had no cancer. It was benign. But the pathologist checked the area around the papilloma and found cancer. And they checked it all the way around, and so we found cancer. Well, for me, I'm thinking, did she just say cancer? Did she really just say cancer to me? Like, I can't believe that she said that. I was not prepared for that at all. And once she said that, that's the only echo I heard for a very long time. And the echo in my head was, did she just say cancer? Well, as she's talking to me, and she's now telling me to go ahead and get dressed and to go to the little room off to the side, and she was going to meet me there, and we were going to sit and talk, which I did. So I get to the room, and it's a very small room with a very large table in it, and around the wall were bookshelves full of pink journals, notebooks. I just remember it being very pink, and that everything was in there that was pink. So she came in, and I'm got, man, did she just say I had cancer? So she came in, sat down, and she has a flip book, and she's explaining to me the type of cancer I have. And I'm not really focused on that. It wasn't the worst, but I'm still in my head going, did she just say cancer to me? So she asked me at that point, she said, would you like to see our counselor? To talk it over. And I kept thinking, no, I'm good. I have my own counselor. I will call her right after this and have that conversation. She says, well, okay. Well, she continued to talk to me, and in my head, I'm continuing to say, did she just say cancer? I couldn't get past that. And eventually she says, maybe you should see the counselor. And I was thinking, she's kind of insistent about this counselor thing. Um, and she said she'll be in at 10 o'clock and you can talk to her. Well, I said, fine, I'll do that. And it jarred me just enough to realize I need to call Yvonne and tell her. Now, at the time, Yvonne and I both were retail managers, and I knew that she was probably on the sales floor. And this is not the kind of conversation you have on the middle of the sales floor or want to hear that. So, but I had to call her. And so I asked her if she was on the sales floor and she left the sales floor. And then I told her. And which I expected to have more of an feedback right then. She was very cool. Very cool, kind of scary. She was very cool, which is good. And so by this time, I am now talking to the counselor, and the counselor is telling me about things, that should be next steps. She was also telling me about that evening at 5, they have a first-time cancer patient class, workshop, whatever. And I thought, oh, that sounded good because might have some questions by that time, but right now I'm still working on the first one. Still working on the first reality check. And about this time, Yvonne knocks on the door and comes in. And we kind of locked eyes, but didn't. It's like we didn't really want to look at each other too long because it might have been an emotional mess. But she came in, sat down, and the counselor repeated the same stuff to her. And so my reaction to that was, well, I got this other doctor I'm going to around 2:30, and hopefully I can get back to it because we're talking at 5 o'clock in DC, rush hour, really. I could probably do it in 30 minutes without rush hour, but it wasn't going to happen at all. But we had hope. We really wanted to do that. So we kind of left and headed to the next appointment. I think we probably sat somewhere and kind of held hands and tried to figure out what just happened. So we went to the next appointment. And so the GYN is actually both Yvonne and my gynecologist. So she knows us both. And so I go in, just a routine for her to check. The nurse sends me in the room, undressed, the usual thing, for a GYN exam. The doctor comes in, and I really thought she was going to examine me from the papilloma to see, not the papilloma, I'm sorry, the polyp, to see if I was okay from the surgery itself. The doctor asked me to meet her in her office, and she wanted to explain the polyp to me. And I had already told the nurse about my cancer experience earlier that day. And so I'm guessing she wants to talk about that and, go over the polyp information. So anyway, I come out of the examining room, and as I come out, because she's only a couple of doors down, I see her in tow with Yvonne. And Yvonne looks like she really has a bird in her mouth. Like she doesn't want to say anything. She doesn't, and I'm going this kind of unusual look. And usually when the two of them together is a little bit more happy. And it was not that. So she told me to go ahead and sit down. I sat next to her desk, and she made a spot for Yvonne to sit. And she says to me, well, it makes sense about the cancer. She goes, because we removed the polyp, which did not have was benign, but the area around it had cancer. And I'm going, did she just say cancer? Cancer Day, free on this day, October 23rd, 2009. They was giving out cancer. In 1979, Minnie Riperton died from breast cancer. That's the first time I had heard anybody dying from breast cancer. And she was 31 years old when she died. And I could not, scared me. Scared me. I was 20, 21 at the time. Scared me. And from that point on, I feared cancer because she was so young and that this was getting regular people, good folks. She was talented. I used to love the fact that she had baby's breath in her hair all the time. Anyway, focus. And so that experience of us losing Minnie Riperton, it seemed like all of a sudden you started to hear about different women getting breast cancer or ovarian cancer. It's like, wow, just, celebrities. And, of course, we've got, for every celebrity gets diagnosed, there's probably 100 other people would have gotten diagnosed. And so fear. And actually, it was that fear, eventually, when I moved to D.C., that I had to stop being fearful because it was stressing me out, because I kept wondering if, would, do I, how would I know, what are the symptoms that I have right now that might say I have cancer of any type. I think everybody goes through that to a certain point. They're trying to figure out. But here's I also want to say, don't let that fear stop you from saving your life. So now Dr. G has told me every possible thing. She talked about surgery. She talked about the surgery I should consider. She had a great surgeon who, she talked about the fact that he was a man and I should be, she recommends him and that she knows my situation about female doctors. So I trusted that she knew me and she trusted this doctor to do this hysterectomy. So that was a lot for that day, to say the least. And Yvonne she was looking to me to decide what is the next move we're going to do. Like, not the next move as in the cancer, in the next move, in the next moment, where we were going to do what we're going to do. And the only thing I could think of was I wanted to eat because I was hungry, because it had been all day. And I wanted to laugh. I wanted to see something funny. And so we traveled, which is odd, in between the two places, but further north, to a mall, and we ended up going to a Chevy's because they had a movie theater there, and we were going to go see a funny movie. And the movies weren't like, it wasn't during the time when they had big blockbuster movies. The funniest thing going right then was Pirate Radio, and we went to see Pirate Radio. It was funny, but it really didn't matter. It was funny enough that I could sit in the movie theater and focus on something other than myself, because at this point I had too much of being told I had cancer in one day. So now we went to the movies, and it was still funny, but it was better than going home and spend the evening crying. I don't know if I ever did that yet about that. It just became more of a what the fuck moment and survival. So on the 11th of December is when I had my breast surgery. And a few days after that, I actually had an art show. So I think the surgery was on a Friday or Thursday or Friday. And then the following Tuesday, we had an art show that had been planned way before found out about the breast or uterine cancer. And so we did this art show. It was going to be easy. We had a tent, we had heaters, the whole deal. It was 20 degrees plus. The following week on the 22nd, I was to have my hysterectomy. Now it's time for my hysterectomy, and the day of the hysterectomy, I was to do it through a Da Vinci, which is basically microscopic, less incision, less recovery time, and the doctor shows up late because he's been trying to work on the Da Vinci machine, and which is also scary by itself to go into a machine that's broken. So it didn't work. So he examined me again to see if he's able to do it the long way, the old fashioned way by just cutting. And so that's what we did. And so that was on the 22nd of December. I was in surgery. I was in the hospital until Christmas Day. Left on Christmas Day, and which is weird by itself. You know, I spent Christmas Eve with baby Jesus. We had a good time, my sisters and I, and so it was really a humbling kind of moment when we that Christmas, 2009. The next year in 2010, I had 37 sessions of radiation. Okay, one of the first things that happened with radiation, they had to line me up, and that started with 3 tattoos on my abdomen to line up my breast scar with the radiation equipment. So that was the first part. The day of, or the day before, I actually got 4 more tattoos that measured out the top part of my body. So 7 tattoos. One of the things they told me that after 3 to 4 weeks of radiation that I may get sunburn. And that was an understatement, the sunburn. I ended up burning underneath my breasts, on top of my breasts, losing layers of skin. It was very painful. That was the most painful part of all of the breast cancer. Not of the hysterectomy, but of the breast cancer. It was the burning. And so, in addition to going every day to have them have radiation sessions, after I finished, I had to go and have the oncologist or the nurse tech to dress my burned skin. And in addition to that, I was working every day. So one day, not coming to the radiation session, and I only missed one day of work while I was in, because they only did the radiation Monday through Friday. So that was really difficult when it started to burn. And honestly, the last radiation session I had, I really wanted to get out there very quickly. Like, let's do this. It's the last day. And I headed out. I didn't want to get the dressing on it. I didn't want them to touch it. I just wanted to go. And as I was leaving, it said, "Hey, Miss Combs, like, where you going?" I was like, thank you, I'm out. They said no. She goes, "Don't you want that dressing done?" And it was just so painful. I didn't want anybody to touch it. So I agreed, yes, okay, I will have you do it. And she did, and they actually had a little ceremony for my last session, which was very nice, but I truly just wanted to get out of there. And having to learn how to, that healing starts from the inside, it was a very difficult thing to understand why it was so painful and so much, but I guess it's just like any other burn victim. You get burned is a process. So that was the radiation, and like I said, I completed that during the middle of Snowmageddon of 2010. I chose not to take the 5-year pill. I chose to do the radiation. My sister, bless her heart, and Yvonne got me to every session of that, and it was that was also a humbling experience. I feel very blessed that one, that they were able to get the cancer in both cases. And for the hysterectomy, I got a complete hysterectomy. The breast cancer, they were able to remove it. It's been 12 years now, and I've been cancer free. For the breast cancer, for a long time, I've been checked every 6 months. Recently, there's some new mysterious things going on, so I'm back in being checked again. I'm feeling confident about it. But that's because I have such an awesome team between my primary care, my gynecologist, and my breast surgeon, and now my gastro surgeon, because that's going to happen soon too. I've been well taken care of. But a lot of it is that Yvonne has been here, my family has been here to make sure that I am taken care of, that I'm taking care of myself, and I do that. That is my responsibility, to continue to be healthy. And I only would like to say this: get yourself checked, mammogram, pap smear, all of that. It is better to know, really, than it is to not to know, because the longer you wait, and say you are a person who may develop cancer, isn't it better to know early than to know later when maybe something can't be done? So go out there, and that's including your pap smear. You know, we're losing so many women with ovarian cancer, breast cancer, and sometimes the cure is just early detection, just doing it early. So, and I still talk to women who are in their 40s and 50s who are going like, I'm just scared. I don't know. I'm afraid that, something's going to happen. Well, that fear is going to stress you out and make you sicker from having that fear. So go out there, get those checks done. It is so important. I am only here because of early detection, and that I started doing that. And here I am talking to you. And I'm good. I'm good. I don't care what's going to happen in the future. I have no control of that. God takes care of me with that. But you go out there and you take care of yourself. So if you have any questions about my experience, I am not a professional. I've had a lot of experience. Please leave a comment. And don't forget to hit the notifications. And please subscribe. Again, this is Myra with LunaWorks Odds and Ends. Your health is important.